Committing a crime so you can try to escape from prison. Bad idea. Going to the pod escape room to play an escape game with your friends. Great idea. Test your skill as an astronaut in outer space. Find Santa in Save Christmas. Or take a vacation to an abandoned island. Just don't get stuck there. The Pod Escape Room. Learn more at thepodlansing.com.
You're watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live. You're watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live.
Committing a crime so you can try to escape from prison. Bad idea. Going to the pod escape room to play an escape game with your friends. Great idea. Test your skill as an astronaut in outer space. Find Santa in Save Christmas. Or take a vacation to an abandoned island. Just don't get stuck there. The Pod Escape Room. Learn more at thepodlansing.com.
You're watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live. watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live.
And there were 3 red cards in that game. 3 red cards.
You could see it on their faces, like they would hit the post again, and they'd be like, "What is happening?"
And they only gave up 4 goals
But it wasn't
in
competitive.
40 minutes?
It wasn't competitive.
4 goals!
A sign that a fan has made, a fan of Callie Futsal made it. Chicago House is grabbing the sign, holding it up, and they're passing it around.
The ball sticks to his feet. Like, I don't think that you should have seen him at practice last night. He was just toying with this. I ain't gonna lie.
What level of crazy do you need to be a goalkeeper in futsal?
11. 11. No one woke up one day and said, I want to be a keeper today. I didn't want to be a goalie.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Third Half podcast on this amazing Thursday night, presented by Jolt Creativity. Destroy the lie that says I am not creative. I'm Jared Kleppel, your host tonight. Exciting Third Half podcast tonight. Not only are we gearing up for nearly the last weekend of the season, but we also have a very special guest joining us tonight from Chicago. A little bit more on that in a bit, but what's to come? Special guest from Chicago. After that, we're going to be talking about what the playoff picture could be looking like, the games from this past weekend and the games that are coming up. Some teams playing multiple games. We're going to see Midwest back in action after they'd been gone for, it's been like a month and a half since they've seen the court. So a lot of exciting things to look forward to this weekend, including maybe even some futures games, which is awesome. But first, I would like to introduce our special guest for the night from Chicago, playing for the Chicago House women's squad. They had a very, very good outing that I think said a lot this past Sunday when they welcomed Ole, and they put a little bit of a beat down on them, 8-1. And this player was a part of almost every goal. Not on the stat sheet, almost on the stat sheet, but was almost a part of every goal just in general. Had a lot to do with the success of this team. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming to the show Callie Hefner of Chicago House. Callie, thank you so much for coming on tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, we'll get to your guys' game this past Sunday when you had a very solid victory over Ole at home. First, I would love for everyone to get a chance to know kind of who you are, how you got into the game of futsal, and what's coming up for you. So tell me about your soccer or futsal life growing up. Did you start out playing soccer?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so you started out playing soccer, and was it like something, you're like taking your first steps and kicking a soccer ball, or what happened?
Yeah, I started playing at like 3 years old in like just a rec league, so it was pretty easy. And then I joined my first club at 6 years old, so that's when I started like traveling and it got more competitive.
Wow, at 6 years old, traveling for competitive. How far did you have to travel sometimes?
Just like tournaments out of state, probably just like
Wow.
St. Louis and Michigan and stuff like that.
Did you have any siblings growing up that also played soccer?
Well, my brother played rec league as well, but it was my mom and my aunt who played like soccer in high school and who got me into it.
Okay, so your mom and your aunt, they played soccer kind of like growing up themselves. What is that kind of like a special bond that the three of you share, or tell me a little bit about what that's like for you?
Yeah, they always support me. Even my aunt, they're always at like most of my games, and my cousins even, they play soccer as well. So we're always playing soccer together, training, a bunch of stuff like that.
That's awesome. Do you have what's your earliest memory in soccer that like your earliest and maybe like an exciting moment or a cherished moment, but like the earliest you can remember?
It was probably like this Wheaton Wings tournament. I was about like maybe 8. It was with my old club, and we were in the final, and we were losing like 5-2, and we ended up winning the game. and like 6-5, and that was just a great moment, just coming back from that and winning one of our first tournaments.
That's awesome. That's really cool. So then when did futsal start to come into the picture for you?
Yeah, I joined my first like actual futsal team at about 9 or 10 years old, which was with Chicago Street
Wow.
with Coach Frank. Yeah.
And that
And
was the same team that Kenzie was on, right? Because we had her
yeah.
on a few weeks ago. So you guys like met around that time?
Yeah. I obviously they were Bloomingdale Lightning a little bit before, and then it became Chicago Street, so that's when I first joined, and I played with a bunch of girls that are on the team right now.
What are the other girls that you played with that are on the team right now?
Bree, Kenzie, Jimena, Kira, Lada was even on there, and I think that's it.
So there's 5 or 6 of you that have been playing futsal together basically since like 12 or so.
Mhm.
Wow, that's really cool. What drew you to the game of futsal?
It was going into it, I thought it was like the same as soccer, just hearing about like the rules and stuff. But once I started playing it, I realized how different it was and how much faster the game is and how much faster you have to think. And it was just so much fun. Just like you have to know where you're going and you're so exposed and going 1v1. I love doing that, having the ball at my feet. So I just really enjoyed playing it.
That's really cool. Thinking about futsal and soccer and kind of how they work together, what do you feel like is the I think we talk about this sometimes on this show about what the game of futsal does. You just mentioned that it like exposes you a lot of times. If you had to point to some of the like characteristics of the game of futsal that you have noticed the most, or maybe have like you've had to adjust to the most, what would those be?
Futsal definitely like you gotta be quick, 1, 2. You gotta know where you're going, and then definitely like I would say back post passes. I feel like in soccer you're like shooting long range and stuff, but futsal you want to be like as close as you can to the net with those back post passes. You get most of your goals in futsal.
Yeah, that's a really good point. A question from the chat. Actually, first, someone, Nicole says, "Let's go, Callie." I don't know if you know Nicole. I'm sure you do, but she says, "Let's go, Callie." A question in the chat, thinking about soccer and futsal. If you had to only pick one, which one do you pick?
That's so hard.
So
I mean,
hard.
I grew up playing soccer at such a young age, so and then I'm obviously continuing to play that, so maybe that. But I just love futsal so much, like as a backside and just on the side playing futsal. But I might have to go soccer.
Yeah, well, that's understandable. I know I had a chance to chat with you before we went on air. So why don't you let everyone know who's watching what your future plans are in soccer right now?
Yeah, I'm planning on going to Marquette University for soccer in college, and I'm very excited for that. I love the coaches. I love the team, and they just have a great environment that I'm excited to go and play for.
That's really cool. So here's another kind of bonus question when we're talking about soccer and futsal. Do you think that if you were like growing up, you probably knew about the opportunity of playing soccer at a high level, like in college or beyond? Did you have any inclination that there would be a possibility of playing futsal at a similar high level and beyond?
It never crossed my mind when I first started playing, but as I continue to play, it sounds like something that I would want to do, and it's something that I don't know. I just love playing futsal so much, and I feel like it's become so much more popular now, and it's a lot more talked about how you could go on to the next level. So yeah, that's definitely like something I would want to do.
Do you think that you would have made any different decisions, like growing up playing soccer and futsal? Like, had the pathway been clear to like futsal at a higher level, do you think that would have influenced any decisions you made as far as whether you wanted to pursue soccer or futsal like at a higher level?
Yeah, maybe a little bit because like coming from Chicago, futsal we basically only did it in the winter time. So maybe if I did that more like year round, then I'd have more opportunities and maybe continuing that instead of soccer and stuff like that.
Well, hopefully that's an opportunity that players like yourself and youth that are coming up after you have an opportunity to as the sport of futsal grows in the U.S. Before we get into more about what your futsal experience has been like, tell me about some of your, like, I guess just pick one of your like memorable moments, either playing futsal or soccer growing up.
Yeah, for futsal, it was definitely winning nationals, and we were basically at that hotel for 2 weeks. We played two tournaments back to back, and just being at that hotel with your teammates was just so much fun. You make so many memories, and then you're obviously playing the sport you love too with them, and so you were just having fun 24/7, and it was just a great time.
So that was two back-to-back tournaments, winning nationals. And was this also this was a part of that team that you have like 5 or 6 teammates right now?
Yeah.
Okay, wow, that's so cool. What was it? What's it like to be on a team with teammates and friends like that, where you've had this moment of like a good success, and you get to continue to keep playing together? Is that where some of the like we see watching the games, there's this like joy and this like we talked about before you came on. You guys are often dancing in the coaching like timeout huddles, you know? Is that a part of where this comes from? Because like you guys know each other and you've had success on like higher levels. Like, is that where some of this like fluidity, energy, and joy comes from?
Oh, definitely. We just all enjoy playing with each other. We all watching each other succeed and score goals and win, and we just love playing the game. And then obviously we have that connection off the court as well as on the court, and I think it really shows. And I think that's really been helping us like beat these teams and win. It's because we're just so connected.
What do you feel like has been the biggest challenge for you personally playing futsal?
Um, it was definitely like again, how you're so exposed and you gotta be confident on the ball, and sometimes you go through those period of times, and I know I have, where you're not as confident, and I definitely playing in this, league, I've definitely struggled scoring a few first few games. I definitely had a lot of shots, and just being able to just take that out of your head and go on to the next game and try to score another goal and, try to get the ball in the back of the net.
Yeah, well, you definitely didn't have trouble this past game. I think it went down as 3 goals and 1 assist. But when I was watching it back, it was like you were involved in almost every one, like creating the chance, you know, even if it wasn't an assist. And I think you guys might have had like an open net one too. But you know, the majority of the goals you were a part of, you had a piece. It was very clear to see that. Before we talk a little bit more about that, you mentioned before we came on air about this opportunity you had in futsal that started in like a tournament or something in Las Vegas. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, first out of like players out of our team, like Street and then a bunch of other teams that were in United Futsal, they picked like some of the best girls to go fly down for like it was like a week of training with like different coaches and different players, and you were able to get the opportunity to go on to like a next training thing in Spain. And the place in Las Vegas was such a fun experience, just playing with new girls and just having that different like environment. And then I was lucky enough to get invited to Spain as well, but unfortunately, there was conflicts with the club, and I couldn't go.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. What did you learn the most being in that environment, playing with like new, you know, that experience of playing in Las Vegas with new players? What was something that you learned in that time?
Uh, Through the coaches and through the players, I learned that there was like different ways to play the game. There was people had different strengths, and I was able to like learn a few different like things off the after like the key players and even the coaches. They taught me so much like different stuff that I didn't know going into there.
Now, in the chat, I see a couple more people cheering for you. I can't pronounce this username, but they said, "Let's go, Callie. You're a baller." And then this looks like it's Yuri. Do you have a nickname? Because
There's
she put it in the chat for everyone to see.
Yeah, there has been a few nicknames I've given.
Well, the one that she put in here, I'll just clarify, is the Roadrunner. So why did you get that nickname?
Um, I Rudy on the mic, I think his name is on Instagram. He did like clips on like past like things that was happening in the FCS, and he posted my goals, and he kept calling me Roadrunner, and like they put like the sound effects over like each of my goals, and so Yuri at practice the other day just kept making the sound effects and She just kept calling me Roadrunner.
That's hilarious. That's really funny. Do you like that nickname?
It's not the best one I've gotten, but I don't mind it.
All right, all right. Great. So that kind of brings us to where you're at right now, playing with Chicago House this year. As we mentioned, you've been playing with a lot of your teammates you have played with before for a while, and some are new. What has been your favorite experience playing with Chicago House here in the FCS Women's?
It's so fun. I really liked traveling down to Lansing, just being with each other just the whole day was so fun. And the vibes are always high there. There's always music playing, people are always laughing. It's always so fun doing whatever with that team.
That's awesome. What's like the environment of your guys' like training sessions? Like, is it similar to when we like what we see out on the court?
Oh yeah, I think so. We always have music playing, as I said, and we're playing with the boys as well, so it's still very competitive. Everyone wants to be on the court. Like no one likes having subs when we're scrimmaging. Everyone wants to be playing, but also like the coaches still keep us like in line and they're still teaching us stuff every single day. So it's fun playing, but also we're learning stuff and we're getting better.
That's awesome. Let's talk a little bit about the game that you guys just had this past Sunday. So to me, this was kind of a big game, and we'll talk a little bit more later for those of you that are in the chat. This game and other games that are going to be coming up. But you guys won 8-1 at home. Tell me what your experience was like in this game.
Yeah, obviously 8-1 is a big score, and it kind of like you think that we had full control of the game the whole time, but looking back and watching like the first 10 minutes of the game, Ole kind of had control for a little bit, and we actually looked like we were kind of like down. They exploited our defense a few times, and I feel like if we didn't have Evelyn back there, they could have had a few goals. I remember hearing there was like 6 shots they had in the first few minutes, and we didn't even have one look at the net. So like if they got 1 or 2 of those goals, then I think it would have been a completely different game. But once we got 1 goal in, we kind of calmed down our nerves and we kind of took control. And once we got the 4th goal, there was nothing they could have done.
What do you think would have like? How would have the game felt differently? Let's say they go up. You said they had a few shots. Maybe they get 2 or 3. Now, this is probably a new situation for you guys, at least in the FCS. You haven't. I don't even know if you've been down yet in this. No, you haven't. You're keeping track. But what do you think? What do you think would happen then? Like, how would you guys have to kind of adjust to that? Like, if that were to happen, what do you think you guys do?
I feel like we would have to definitely like calm down a lot faster. Like we got away with being able to have sloppy defense for 10 minutes. We definitely have to fix up like the tiny mistakes and just attack, take on people like 1v1 and just play with each other, and just communication is probably the most important one. Just keep communicating and just find our chances towards the net.
What did you notice about the Ole side against you? Did you notice any particular players you felt like had a really big impact on the game?
I feel like their whole starting lineup, they're all pretty good tactically, and they all had like some sort of flair, and also they had like I noticed on their corner kicks they had like special plays, and then for kick-ins they kept on like switching players and having one down line, and then they just play quickly. So they all had like it was something we weren't used to. They all had like I don't know like secret plays.
Yeah, that sounds like Ole. Yeah, it definitely sounds like them on both their women's and men's side. You mentioned once you guys scored 4, you felt like there was kind of no turning back. What about that goal made things kind of like solid in your mind?
Well, we definitely had obviously we had 4 goals is a pretty good lead, and then I also realized they started taking the goalie out and playing fly keeper, and I feel like being on the opposite team and seeing them taking out that fly keeper, they're desperate for a goal. So so yeah, you kinda have to, like, take that as consideration and just, like, know you have, like, full control of the game, and they're really wanting a goal there.
Were there any goals that you guys scored this weekend that like was your favorite of the game?
Mm, I don't know. There's so many to pick from. Obviously, I
There's so many. I mean, it's true. It's not a lie.
I kind of like the open net goals because you could just see they got so defeated after those ones, and I don't know. It's fun kind of scoring in an open net.
Yeah. Did you end up scoring on an open net?
Yeah, I think I got one on the
One.
open net.
Okay. Of the other three that you were a part of, 'cause I think you had 2 goals and 1 assist. Were there any one of those 3 that you like particularly sticks out in your mind?
I really like the first one because I know how many times I hit the post and the crossbar against Lansing. I hit it maybe about 3 or 4 times, and to have it hit off the post and actually go in this time made me pretty happy. And then also just leading off the game with a goal always feels nice.
Yeah. So the post was finally on your team and put it in for you. That's
Yeah.
amazing. That's amazing. Well, if anyone in the chat has any more questions for Callie, make sure to put it in. We just have a few more minutes with her on the show. I want to turn this around to the game you guys are going to be playing on Saturday. So now you're traveling to Grand Rapids. It's run it back 6 days later. In my head, this is an opportunity. Either you guys kind of say, hey, this first result was for real, or Ole is like, hey, we have something else to say. What does this game on Saturday mean to you?
Yeah, we definitely want to win this game, and we want to show that it wasn't a fluke. And also, I know Ole is going to be very, very coming in aggressive. They're definitely going to come in and have something to prove. So we just got to play our game, and like I said, go off the start. Don't make tiny mistakes, and we just got to play our game, and I think we'll be fine.
What do you think it's going to do to you guys to be playing in kind of the hostile environment? I mean, you could say hostile environment, but just, it's now not your house. It's now theirs. They typically have quite a lot of fans that come. What do you think it's going to be like playing in that kind of environment for you all?
Yeah, obviously they have some type of home advantage, but I think when we went down to Lansing and Shoreline, I think we played pretty comfortable even being out, not at home. So I think if we just drown it out, I think we'll be fine.
Awesome. What are you most looking forward to when it comes to your futsal or soccer career?
I just want to have fun mostly. Maybe accomplish a lot of things. Obviously, I want to do good in college, and I really do want to continue playing futsal, even if it's at it doesn't have to be at the highest level. I really do want to continue playing it because I just have so much fun doing it.
Do you think that you'll be able to continue playing, say, for Chicago House while you're going to Marquette?
Yeah, hopefully I could figure something out. I'm not too sure right now, but hopefully it could work.
Awesome. Well, I know that fans, coaches, and players, I'm sure your teammates are all hoping that you'll be able to figure something out as well. But amazing. Thank you so much for your time and for jumping on the show tonight. Do you have any final things you'd like to comment on or say to any of your teammates in the chat?
No, just thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for having me, and let's go House.
All right, awesome. Yeah, you bet. So glad to have you on the show. We're going to cut to a quick break, and on the other side, we're going to chat about the games that are coming up this weekend, including results from the past weekend. Lots of exciting futsal to come as we get closer and closer to not only the postseason, but the finals in nearly exactly a month. That's all coming up in just a little bit, so don't go anywhere.
Committing a crime so you can try to escape from prison. Bad idea. Go into the pod escape room to play an escape game with your friends. Great idea. Test your skill as an astronaut in outer space. Find Santa in Save Christmas. Or take a vacation to an abandoned island. Just don't get stuck there. The Pod Escape Room. Learn more at thepodlansing.com.
You're watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live. You're watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live.
Committing a crime so you can try to escape from prison. Bad idea. Go into the Pod Escape Room to play an escape game with your friends. Great idea. Test your skill as an astronaut in outer space. Find Santa in Save Christmas. Or take a vacation to an abandoned island. Just don't get stuck there. The Pod Escape Room. Learn more at thepodlansing.com.
You're watching the Futsal Champions Series on FCS Live.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Third Half Podcast here in the Lansing studio, coming to you live. We just had an awesome segment with Callie Hefner of Chicago House. If you missed it, go back, check it out. One of the star players there, quickly emerging as a go-to player. They're full of them. They have lots of talent there in Chicago. It's going to be tough to bring them down. And Ole will have another chance this weekend to do so, along with some other games. What is the game that you're most looking forward to this weekend? We have several to choose from. So make sure you put it in the chat. Tell me what you think about what's going to happen for these matches that are coming up. Let's get into it. Let's talk a little bit about, first we talked with Callie about this one, the Chicago House and victory over Ole. So I felt like this was a pretty big win. From my point of view, Ole is kind of like, at least coming into the FCS Women's League this year, they were like the team to beat as far as team that seems to have the most history in women's futsal. A couple of teams that have national team experience, and I think they still, like, even in January, I think two of their players, Setlali Luna and Kirsten Karanik, if I'm not mistaken, they went to like a training camp this past January as well. So definitely when the season started, it was like, okay, three teams we don't really know much about, and one team that, you know, I didn't personally know a lot about, but there's some history there. So with Chicago House winning with such an emphasis, and I know when we talked with Callie, she mentioned that the first 10 or so minutes of the game that the game could have flipped the other way, and it didn't, and they kept the 8-1 victory. And it was 8-0 until I think it was the last like 4 or 5 minutes that Ole got a goal. So it was just after that 10-minute period, Chicago House said, "This is our game. We're going for it." So I feel like this is a really big game because now it's like, okay, that's a pretty large win. To me, it's enough to say, okay, I think Chicago House is the team to beat. But actually, probably the amazing thing is they play again this weekend. So 6 days later, they're playing. This is going to be Saturday. I think it's at 2 p.m. in Grand Rapids. So we really get to find out, because usually you have one game and between two really tough opponents, and then you wait a little while and they come back later and you say, okay, let's evaluate that first match. Now we have 2 looks at it. And I do think Ole, I don't think I at least saw Kirsten on the roster. So they were at least not at 100% strength. But now it's like, okay, now it's at Ole's house. Now Chicago House is going on the road. And so to me, I think we're going to find out, we're going to verify. We're going to verify that it's going to happen. A verification is going to happen whether Chicago House is the new top dog, the team to beat. I know they have a ton of talent on their team. We've been seeing it all year, and Callie's one of those players. Or will Ole put their foot down and be like, hey, that the way we played that game and how that result happened was did not tell a correct story of us, and we're going to show it at home. So I think this will tell a lot. It's also going to be huge for the battle of the number 1 seed. Should actually just check real quick where we're at in the standings. If you're not aware, in the women's division for playoffs, there's only 4 teams. So the bottom team will not make the postseason. 2 and 3 will play a semifinal hosted by the 2 seed, and the 1 seed gets a bye directly to the finals at Lansing City Arena. So getting the 1 seed is a pretty big deal. So let's see, goal differential. Chicago House has a huge advantage in goal differential. So if Ole but Ole do have 1 game in hand. So if, obviously Ole is going to have to win this game if they want a chance at the number 1 seed. If House wins it, it's over. I think they take the number 1 seed. But if Ole want a chance at it, they're going to have to win this game, and they're probably going to have to win by a substantial margin, and they're going to have to win their next matches as well by a fair amount, because they currently trail in goal differential by 31 goals. So Chicago House have all but wrapped up the number 1 seed. Even if they lose this match, Ole will have, what will be, 1 more match, because they'll be 4-1, and they're only going to play 6, right? Ole will only have 1 more match, so they'll have to make up 31 goals. I'm just gonna verify this to make sure, but they're gonna have to make up. Yeah, so they would have 1 more match. So Ole have to make up 31 goal differential in 2 matches. Which would be pretty bananas. So I think that's where we're at. In the chat, if Ole loses at home, I will be surprised. Fabian does not like to lose and is a master tactician. I was almost going to say statistician, but I was like, that doesn't make sense. I had to make sure I got that right. I think this is interesting. Fabian is definitely, he's clearly very valuable at the coaching position. And I know that the whole team is not happy with the result in Chicago, so I think you can bet that they are going to absolutely bring it this match. Chicago's women's team just dominant, though. I mean, that's what it seemed like in this past match. So I think it's going to be really cool to see. This is definitely one of the games of the week. You could probably circle 2 or 3 of them, but this one might be the number 1 match. If you can only catch one, it might be this one. But if Chicago House goes out and wins 8-1 again, it's like, okay, man, maybe was that the match to watch? But this will be exciting. 2 p.m. Saturday in Grand Rapids. Let's talk about what's going on in the men's league. So first on Friday. What did I see in the chat? I saw matches you're most excited for. Shoreline and Lansing, Ole and Imperial could be interesting. The ladies division added something special to the FCS. Yeah, this is awesome. The women's division is great. So glad that it's a part of the FCS. And not only for what we're seeing right now, but it's also like FCS Futures. It's a place for them to grow into because there's, girls teams in FCS Futures as well. So absolutely amazing that it's a thing. Love to see it. And, especially from Chicago House, a lot of young talent that are, playing for Chicago. And now, we heard that Callie is going to be playing at Marquette. And I think Kenzie, she said she was going somewhere too, and I forget where. But really cool to see them have the opportunity to play. And who knows? I mean, we talk about like a women's national team, and like, I don't follow it that much, but Ole had a couple of players that have been on it, so it's like, are we gonna look at Chicago House now? I mean, like, I feel like you got to. But let's talk about this game right here. This one right here. Midwest United are going to be back in action for the first time in like a month and a half. What do you guys think is going to happen? Let me know in the chat. Aiden, I know you're around. Luke, you're around. Let me know what you guys think is going to happen in this one. Aiden, I know this is your guys' squad. You guys are at 6-1-1. Can lock up the 2 seed with a victory here at a minimum. So that's kind of what a big piece of what Shoreline's playing for. I believe, if I have understood everything correctly, that Shoreline is automatically going to host a playoff game, which when I talked with Coach Cody Harrell probably like a month ago, he was, delighted at the opportunity for that to, that could be in the cards. And I think it's a lock. I think Shoreline can't go lower than a 4. So they're looking to solidify at least at minimum a 2 seed, which would be a bye to the semifinals and hosting the semifinals. They do play Lansing City the very next day, so they'll have another chance at solidifying that 2 seed. But I'm sure they're going to want to take care of business here and now. For Midwest, I mean, we talked about it's been a long break for them. They have been a very interesting story. I mean, there's no doubt that they have talent on their team. We've seen what they can do. They are back-to-back finalists. Yet they've had a couple of disappointing results, and I would say their first game against Midwest, that 6-6 draw, I would include that in the disappointing results because they had like a 3 or 4 goal lead once or twice in that game that they gave up, and they almost lost it. They actually should have lost that game the way it happened, and they got a deflection late in the game that made it a draw. So they could be at 2-4 right now, and Shoreline could be at 7-1 had that late deflection not happened. Let's see, what are we seeing in here? Lots of ties between the two teams if you're not familiar. Yeah. I know that some of the Shoreline City players, I mean, a fair amount of them are like Grand Rapids guys, kind of like the Mendezes and others. And then, Midwest obviously being that place. Maybe even Muskegon Risers connections, if I'm not mistaken. No Secret. I don't know. I have not heard that. So if no Secret Hasevich, that definitely makes a big deal. Shoreline is going to walk Midwest. Midwest has been very mad this season. They feel leaderless. Yeah, it's like Midwest has nothing to lose, could go all out on in-town rivals. Yeah, it's like Midwest, this is kind of where I'm at with them. It's like I'm not at the point yet where I'm like counting them out because I have seen the talent on their team and like when they play good. And I haven't forgotten that they have been back-to-back finalists. And even right now, their record, if you look at it, 2-3-1, it looks very bad. But they have 4 games left. They're all at home. And we have seen other teams in the FCS have some struggles on the road. And they are coming off of, just those 4 games left at home with a loss to Lansing on the road, who looked very good in that game, a loss to Ole on the road, and then they lost to Chicago House at home. So the Chicago House at home is probably that other disappointing result. So they've had 2 disappointing results, and it's making us, I say us, but there's a feeling of like, oh, well, maybe we need to doubt them. And it's like, do we need to? It's really 2 disappointing results, and they have 4 home games left. Like they could end up at 6-3-1? They could end up at 6-3-1. If they do play Ole again, and the way that game went before, even if you say, okay, that one's definitely a loss, and it's not, but if you said it is, 5-4-1. So that's kind of where I'm at with Midwest. It's like, I think, well, here's the thing. I think this game is going to say a ton, because this game, I believe, will set the tone for what the rest of their season will look like, because they play this game and their last 3 games in a matter of about 10 to 14 days or something of that nature. So I think how this game goes will set the tone. Like, if they go out and they get wiped, I think that's, if I'm Chicago House, I'm tuning into every game and I'm cheering for the other team, like they did in the summer. They were cheering for against Midwest, and they're in that same position to try to get any chance into the playoffs. But it's like, hey, if this one's close, or if Midwest end up winning, it's like, okay, that says a lot too. So yeah, this one is like, if I'm circling games, this may not be the one I'm circling for the weekend. It's like, on another weekend, it probably is the game I'm circling. But on this weekend particularly, it's like there's a couple others that are like, that I would put above it as far as circle. But it's very, very interesting. And I think it will be very telling about what we see, especially from Midwest going forward. Next one, the very next day, this is one of them. A couple people I think I saw in chat pointing out this one. We've been waiting for this one. I think Luke said it way back in preseason. Maybe it wasn't Luke. Maybe it was someone else. But talking about this game maybe deciding a playoff spot. Well, it's not going to decide a playoff spot. Both teams are already in. But Shoreline, if they win on Friday, because this game is going to be Saturday at 5 p.m. And by the way, this is like a part of several games happening in Muskegon, which is really cool. There's 3 futures games, and then there's going to be women's and men's. So it's like a whole day thing, and we're going to try to stream some extra games for this. So this is a really cool, fun time on Saturday. But this one's at 5 p.m. Shoreline could already have the 2 seed on lock. So if Shoreline gets that 2 seed, I think they're very competitive, and I don't think they're going to take it easier in this match. There is some ties across these teams, like Aiden. I know you're in the chat. Aiden has ties with Lansing City. Alex and Aldoni played for Lansing City. I played with them as well. I can't remember, Aiden, if you played when I played. I think I at least trained with you. I know that. But I don't expect Shoreline to take it easy, even if they have the 2 seed in lock. But you have to wonder, it's like, if it does come down to something in the game and it's really tight, really close, it's like, if you already know that you're advancing to playoffs and you're getting the semifinal, home spot, it's like, does that enter in anywhere? I don't really think so, because I think there's too many competitors out there in Shoreline. But it had to be said. For Lansing City, if they lose this match, they end up at 500, which I think from a city perspective is a disappointment on the record. I think the way that we've seen them play when they're Coach Matt Alashari described it as a roller coaster. When they're up there, it's like this could be the best team in the league, and when they're not, it's like this is this team needs to remember who they are. So ending at 5-5, wouldn't it be like from a record standpoint, wouldn't it be like what you're looking for? But they still make the playoffs. They still have a chance to host a playoff game if that's the case. But a win here, I think. I feel like it looks very good for Lansing City to go to 6-4 and to have a win against Shoreline. But I expect it to be a great match out in Muskegon. So let's see. I think Chicago gets into the playoffs. 5 games in Muskegon, yes. Lots of games in Muskegon. So some familiar faces. We talked about that in this end of season showdown. So this is going to be the final match for both of these squads. So this is how they'll end the regular season, and they'll have a couple weeks break. Shoreline might have more than that. I don't believe Lansing City is in any contention to get the 2 seed. No, they're not. So they will only have a 1 week break. But yeah, this one is one that from the beginning it looked like it really could be an exciting matchup for the end of the year, because this was originally scheduled to be the final weekend of the season, and then we've had some reschedules and games we've had to get in. So it's not the final weekend, but I expect this to be an exciting one. And the women face off in it before, and the futures games before, which is pretty cool. The other one for the weekend that I would and keep my eye on is Detroit Imperial and Ole. So we know these two teams have history. The last game, Detroit had a couple of red cards. It's definitely not uncommon when these two teams meet for there to be some extracurriculars like that. Hopefully we don't see that in this game. I don't really, I feel like this game, so Detroit are without Davide DePoce, which is definitely hard for them. Of course, they still have Emerson Mena, which is like a huge plus. He's definitely a player that swings games. So that'll be big. Their court is a little bit smaller than homeschool building, so that, could play a factor. Imperial also without Abdullah Isale. On paper, I think Ole definitely have the advantage because of those things. But typically how we see, these games go is Ole has this way that they kind of play sneaky dirty a lot of times, and they have like they kind of play the refs a lot, and they're very good at it, and so they kind of push the edge there, and then Detroit usually kind of retaliate in the open, and they get punished like we saw in the last game with 2 red cards. But hopefully we start to see more clean play and more better officiating in these games to keep it, and I think video support is helping as well. But hopefully we see a good competitive match between these two that doesn't get out of hand. That's what I'm hoping for. Why everybody catching cards versus Ole? Yeah, I think that's what it is. I think they kind of have this tendency to kind of push the line with they kind of play sneaky dirty a little bit, antagonize a little bit, and oftentimes they're kind of pushing the lines, and they kind of know how to play the ref game, and so that usually can cause retaliation like in the open. So I think that's most of the time what I've seen. But they have a chance to go 8-0 and continue their unbeaten record in the FCS. The last game it was a 4-0 victory for Ole at home. Some key players out for Detroit. So definitely want to keep your eye on. I think Ole definitely has the advantage here. But we'll see how it turns out. What could this weekend mean for the playoff possibilities? Let's look at the standings, where we're at right now. So Ole would have to, I think they'd have to lose the rest of their games to not get the 1 seed. So all, pretty much they'll probably have the 1 seed almost certainly. Shoreline City is in the running there. They would have to win both their games and get help. But a win either Friday or Saturday for them puts them at the 2 seed. And then where things start to really get interesting is Detroit Imperial and Lansing. Imperial just need a result in their last 2 games. If they get a tie or a win, I believe that kind of puts them ahead of Lansing City. Maybe not a draw, because if they got 2 draws, Lansing City got a win. So they have the tiebreaker against Lansing City. So all they need is a victory to solidify that 3 seed. Jinga are probably not. They're not really going to go anywhere. They're at 9. They can only get up to 12. So they'll either be 5 or 6. Of course, right now, Midwest with 4 games in hand, they're at 7. But all they need is 2 points in their final 4 games, and they will 2 points in their final 4 games will put them in. So a win or a couple of draws, and they have a pretty large goal differential advantage on Chicago House. But with 4 games, I mean, if they lose 4 games, if they're tying on points and goal differential matters, it's probably not going to come out to. They probably won't. Chicago House probably won't make that up. So I'm thinking that as long as Midwest get those 2 points, they'll be in. Chicago House, of course, is cheering for. They're cheering for Shoreline this weekend. They'll be cheering for Ole and Jinga, and I think Midwest have to play Detroit still too. So Chicago are going to be fans of several teams here in the FCS as they try to root against Midwest so that they can have a playoff spot themselves. Let's see. Shoreline 2 wins with 2 Ole losses flips it. So yeah, if Ole lose 2, Shoreline could end up being 8-1-1. So if Ole lose twice, then in that case, Shoreline would get it. If there's a tie in points, Ole have the goal differential there. So a win for Ole puts them at 8-0, and they'll just need a result then. They'll just need like a tie in their last 2 games. They do get Innovation City still, so I think that's probably their most likely win. So I think it would be a really tough scenario for those 2 to flip. But yeah, this weekend could say a lot, and I really do think what will probably say the most about what's to come is that Midwest and Shoreline game. Just as Midwest has kind of been a question mark. We really just haven't seen them in a month and a half, so that's a big piece of it. But yeah, exciting stuff for the Futsal Champions Series this weekend, and we're going to be covering it as much of it as we can. Of course, all the normal men's and women's games, but we're also hoping to get a futures game or 2 in there. Trying to take a little bit of a crew out to Muskegon for the day and see if we can do a little highlight day there with futures games and then the women's and men's game. That'll be pretty fun. So that's going to do it for tonight. Thanks so much for tuning in to the third half. Great to chat with everyone. Hear from Callie Hefner. Exciting matches. And don't forget, Chicago House and Ole women are going to be back in action on Saturday as well. So some big matches with playoff implications all around. I'm Jared Kleppel. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you guys for FCS action starting tomorrow, 6 p.m. kickoff. Midwest taking on Shoreline, and then the rest of the week. Thanks for tuning in. Have a good night. We'll see you later. Goodbye.